بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين. اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. ثم أما بعد، يا عباد الله، عن جرير بن عبد الله رضي الله تعالى عنه قال: بايعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على سمع وطاعة، فلقنني فيما استطعت والنصح لكل Muslim. On the authority of Jarir bin Abdullah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, I gave bay'ah to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He gave his pledge of allegiance unto the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he will hear and he will obey, that he will hear and he will obey the rulers of the Muslims, those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had placed in authority over the Muslims, that he will hear and he will obey them. And he said that the Prophet ﷺ instructed him to do of that which he has the ability to do it as much as he possibly can, and to advise every single Muslim, to give nasiha to every single Muslim. Imam al-Wadi'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he begins his very small yet tremendous book, Nasihati ila Ahl Sunnah, my advice to the people of the Sunnah, with this hadith. وعن تميم الداري أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الدين النصيحة. And on the authority of Tamim Ad-Dari radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the religion is sincerity and giving good advice, sincere advice. قُلْنَا لِمَنْ, the Sahaba, they said, so we said, unto who? To be sincere unto who? To which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, لِلَّهِ وَلِكِتَابِهِ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِيَئِمَّةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَعَمَّتِهِمْ. He said, to be sincere unto Allah, unto His book, unto His messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to be sincere and to give the good advice to the leaders of the Muslims, and to be sincere and to give the good advice to the common folk from amongst the Muslims, to the vast general body of the Muslims, to be sincere unto them and to give them advice. Imam al-Wadi'i, Imam Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, Nasihati li Ahl Sunnah. So my advice to the people of the Sunnah, I want us all to pay very close attention, and I want us all to reflect upon that which this great Imam, he chose to begin his advice with. Because you find that the ulama, when they put together different points of fawaid, when they put together different advices and so on and so forth, you will find that they start with that which is most appropriate and most fitting as they see it given the situation. Most beneficial, most appropriate, most fitting given the situation. And each and every one of us, we knows the situation of the Ummah of the Muslims today. We know our situation. We know what exists from current events, that which plagues us, and we know the relationship or the reality of the interactions that the Muslims they have amongst themselves. So I want us to pay attention. What did Imam Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, what was his first piece of advice? What did he begin his advice with? Imam Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, أن يتباعدوا عن أسباب الفرقة واختلاف. He says, is that my advice to the people of the Sunnah is to stay away, to stay far away, far removed. يتباعدوا, to go far away, stay far away from those things that lead to and cause separation and disunity. To run away from those things that are a cause and those things that lead to disunity. The Imam rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, فَعَقِيدَةُ أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ وَاحِدٌ. He said the belief of Ahl Sunnah, the creed of Ahl Sunnah, it is one. وَكَذَلِكَ مِنْهَجُهُمْ وَاحِدٌ. And their minhaj is one. فَعَقِيدَةُ أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ وَاحِدًا. The belief of Ahl Sunnah, it is one. وَمِنْهَجُهُمْ وَاحِدٌ. And their methodology is one. وَاتِّجَاؤُهُمْ وَاحِدٌ. And their aim is one. لَيْسَ هُنَاكَ مُسَوِّغٌ لِلْفُرْقَةِ وَاخْتِلَافٍ. There is nothing that will justify differing and disunity amongst the people of the Sunnah. Because when we look, the Aqidah is one. The minhaj, the methodology is one. The aim and the purpose, it is one. All of these things together should translate into what? Them being together and being unified, because there's no difference in the Aqidah, there's no difference in minhaj, there's no difference in their aim. So what will then therefore justify or bring about disunity amongst them, separation amongst them? What will be those causes that will bring about separation amongst them? The Imam, he says, إِلَّا الْجَهْلِ وَالْبَغِي وَالشَّيْطَانِ. He said that there is no justification for disunity and separation except for ignorance, injustice, and shaitan. Naam. What causes disunity amongst the Muslims? Ignorance, injustice, and shaitan. It's important for us to know and to understand the likes of these things, because only once we know the root causes will we be able to stomp them out and avoid them. But في Sahih Muslim, in the Sahih of Imam Muslim, he brings a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانِ قَدْ أَيَّسَ إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانِ قَدْ أَيَّسَ أَنْ يَعْبُدَهُ الْمُصَلُّونَ. That the shaitan, he has given up hope, he has abandoned hope that those who pray will worship him. Shaitan, he has given up hope that those who pray will worship him. في جزيرة العرب, as it comes in his narration, إن الشيطان قد أيس أن يعبده المصلون في جزيرة العرب. That the shaitan, he has given them hope that those who worship Allah, those who pray in the Arabian Peninsula, that they will worship him. He has given them hope. ولكن في التحريش بينهم. But rather, he puts his energy where? In making separation between them, causing enmity and division between them. Naam, this is the way of shaitan. And we see this as being the fact. The shaitan, he will send out his shayateen from the jinn and his shayateen from the ins. How many occasions have we seen the likes of this? Individuals who have been together for years. Individuals who have loved each other for the sake of Allah for years. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years together as brothers for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Individuals who have stood upon the truth together for years, called to it together for years, suffered much in its way for years together. And then the shaitan, he will send one of his shayateen from the human beings, and they will say to one of them, so and so has said such and such about you. So and so looked at you strangely the other day when you was talking and saying such and such. So and so such and such. So and so such and such. So much so until they plant the seed of rancor. They plant the seed of enmity amongst these brothers, and then now loved ones become adversaries. Now loved ones, they become enemies one to another. Why? Because this shayateen came and corrupted their relationship. But it says out of what? Out of jahl. This is out of what? Out of baghi, out of ignorance, out of injustice. This is because of what? Because of shaitan. We have to be very mindful, ya ibad, because the shaitan, he has given them hope that we will worship him. So therefore he places his energy where? In making enmity, division, rancor amongst the believers. How many is it of the occasion is that individuals who they may have been in conflict for very long periods of time, and then there comes a time where they sit down and they try to mend that which is between them, and they start to go over and start to think about their root causes and so on and so forth, and they realize that what? It was all based upon nothing. This one says, oh, but I thought you said so and so. No, I never said that. Subhanallah. I thought you did such and such. No, I never did that. Subhanallah. Well, so and so told me such and such. No, so and so was a liar, known for lying. That never had taken place. Subhanallah. Realizing what? That they had built the premise of their enmity and conflict with one another based upon lies, based upon things that in reality didn't even exist. Imam Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, khilafu shar, separating is evil. And wallahi, disunity is evil. Separating is evil. Kama qala Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, just like Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, عندما صلى عثمان بمنى بالناس أربعا. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he made this statement when Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he prayed with the people in Mina 4 raka'at. In Mina he prayed 4 raka'at. فاسترجع عبد الله رضي الله تعالى عنه ثم قال صليت مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ركعتين ومع أبي بكر ركعتين ومع عمر ركعتين فيا ليت لي ركعتين مقبولتين. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when Uthman, when he prayed 4 raka'at, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he prayed also 4 raka'at. He didn't differ with Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. But he mentioned, he said, I prayed 2 raka'at with the Prophet ﷺ in Mina. I prayed 2 raka'at with Abu Bakr in Mina. I prayed 2 raka'at with Umar in Mina. He said, so only if I can pray 2 raka'ats that were accepted in Mina right now, meaning with Uthman. Because doing Hajj in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they pray 2 raka'ats. In the time of Abu Bakr, 2 raka'ats. In the time of Umar, 2 raka'ats in Mina. So he said, I wish I can pray 2 raka'at that were accepted in Mina also now behind Uthman. فَقِيلَ لَهُ, so somebody said unto him, أَلَا صَلَّيْتَ رَكَعَتَيْنِ. They said to him, then why didn't you just pray 2 raka'at? If that's the case, why didn't you just pray 2 raka'at then? فَقَالَ Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was from the most knowledgeable of the Sahaba. Allama, Imam fi d-din. What did he say? Teaching that one and teaching all of the Muslims a tremendous lesson. He said unto him, what? Al-khilafu shar. He said, disunity is evil. Differing is evil. It's evil. Khilafu shar. How often is the case that disunity occurs because someone thinks they got all the facts? They think they got all the information. They think they know the whole story. They think they're justified in their stance. But we don't know. We don't always know all the facts. You see? Imam Az-Zuhri, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions, إنما أتم عثمان رضي الله تعالى عنه لأنه اتخذ الأموال بالطائف وأراد أن يقيم بها. He said that, and this at the time, was it known to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu? Was it known unto him? He said because Uthman, he had taken some wealth from Ta'if, and he intended to be a resident there. So therefore, he was in the ruling of a resident. So therefore, he prayed 4 rak'at. Whereas the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr and Umar, they prayed 2 rak'at in Mina. Why? Because they were travelers. So they prayed 2. Uthman, he wasn't a traveler because he intended to stay and was intended to take residency. So therefore he was a resident. And for the resident, they don't pray the prayer of the traveler. So therefore he prayed what? 4. So sometimes this is a clear indication that what? We won't have all the facts of a situation. We won't have all the facts of a situation to come to a proper conclusion, a proper decision. But Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he understood the likes of this. He understood that perhaps there's a reason, perhaps there's an excuse, perhaps there's a cause, an underlying cause of why he prayed 4 rak'at that I don't know about. So therefore what? He prayed 4 rak'at because he understood khilafu shar. Differing is evil. When you can find an excuse for your brother, you look for the excuse. You don't rush to that which in your mind will justify differing. Why? Because khilafu shar. Differing is evil. Disunity is evil. Let us take example from this great Sahaba. Let us take example from this tremendous principle. Let us be unified and stay away from that which will lead to disunity. هذا أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولجميع المسلمين فاستغفروا فإنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد يا عباد الله. It is beyond important that we closely examine and that we are very diligent, very vigilant over preserving our relationships with one another. On every level, the believers have to preserve their relationships with one another. The man and his wife, the parents and the children amongst themselves, the children with the parents, the Muslims in general, so on and so forth. The brother to brother, sister to sister. Across the board, we have to be very careful and we have to be very vigilant on preserving our relationships. From the ways in which we preserve our relationships is that we stay away from those things which may cause any type of ill effect upon the relationship. It's very important. Whether that be a glance, whether that be a word, whether that be whatever, an action, we have to be very careful to stay away from those things that lead to disunity. We learned this from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Imam rahimahullah ta'ala, he goes on outlining, showing us from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that we ought to stay away from everything that leads to disunity. Everything that leads to disunity, we got to stay away from it. وفي صحيح مسلم عن عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله تعالى عنه كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يمسح مناكبنا في الصلاة. He said that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to touch our shoulders in the salah. Meaning what? Right before the salah, the Prophet ﷺ, he used to touch their shoulders. Why? He would touch their shoulders and straightening the rows, and making sure the rows were even and straight. And he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, used to say, "La takhtalifu." Don't differ. Even when it comes to lining up in a salah, don't differ one another. Don't differ. فَتَخْتَلِفَ قُلُوبُكُمْ. Because if you differ, then what? Then your hearts will differ. Don't let your bodies differ in the way that you arrange the rows, so that your hearts won't differ from one another. The Prophet ﷺ said in another hadith that can be found in Sahih Bukhaari, عن نعمان بن بشير رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تسون صفوفكم. The Prophet ﷺ said, indeed, straighten your rows. أو يخالفن الله بين وجوهكم, or Allah, He will make your faces turn away from one another. Straighten your rows in the prayer, or Allah will cause your faces to separate from one another, to turn from one another. It's important, ya ibad, we got to be careful. A person may say, but that seems to be something that's just slight, a slight differing with our feet, our shoulders, and our salah will lead to us turning our faces from one another, our hearts turning away from one another. Na'am. So how much more so a word of disrespect that we may give to one of our brothers? How much more so something physically harm we may do to one of our brothers? And as the ulama, they mention from them, the Fadilat Shaykh Ahmed Bazmoul, we have to be very careful what we say, because sometimes a word, or we have to be very careful what we say, because a word hurts more than a physical injury. Person, you hit him on the arm, he gets a bruise, couple of days, the bruise is gone, it's over. The sting lasts a few seconds and it's over. Right? Put some ice, it's done. But a person to say a word to you, cut you so bad, 10 years later you still remember. Still brings shivers to you. 20 years later you still crying about it. What somebody said back then when you think about what they said. Words cut more, they hurt more than physical stuff. We have to be very careful, ya ibad. Very careful. The Prophet ﷺ, as it comes, عن البراء بن عازب رضي الله تعالى عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يتخلل الصف من ناحية إلى ناحية. That the Prophet ﷺ, he used to go, because see, the Prophet ﷺ, he understood the reality of those things that lead to separation, and he understood the reality of the importance of unity. So the Prophet ﷺ, he used to walk down the rows, up and down the rows, from one side to the other side of the rows, straightening the row. Naam. He said, يَمْسَحُ صُدُورَنَا وَمَنَاكِبَنَا, that he will touch our chests and our shoulders, straightening the rows. وَيَقُولُ, and he used to say, لَا تَخْتَلِفُ, don't be different, don't differ. فَتَخْتَلِفَ قُلُوبُكُمْ, because then your hearts, they will differ. Your hearts, they will differ. وَكَانَ يَقُولُ, and he used to say, إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى صُفُوفِ الْأَوَّلِ, and that Allah and the messengers, they send the salawat upon the first rows. They send the salawat upon the first rows. And this hadith has an authentic chain, and the men in the chain, they are authentic, and it's been collected by Imam Abu Dawood rahimahullah ta'ala. Ala kullin, so we have some understanding, and we can understand the depth of this. The Shaykh Abdullah al-Bassam, he mentions in his explanation of Umda al-Ahkam, he says ذلك بأنه حيثما يتقدم بعضهم على بعض في الصف. He said this is because if some of them go slightly in front of others from amongst them inside the row. You understand? Instead of putting the feet in instead of putting the heels equal to one another, that the heels are equal, this one he'll take his heel and put it in the middle of his brother's foot. He'll step in front of him a little bit. He'll move up a little bit. And I want you to listen to what the Shaykh he mentions. He says that because if some of them put their feet up just a little bit from the other foot, but mind you now, the foot is still touching, but he don't put the heels right next to one another. He put his heel up a little bit, so he's up a little bit. His shoulders is up a little bit. They're not parallel to the shoulders of his brother. What did he mention? He said, يفتن المتقدم أو يصيب ويصيبه الكبر والزهو. He said, is that the one who put himself forward like that, he stepped up a little bit, he said he may be afflicted, maybe put to trial with what? With arrogance and vanity. He feels, no, I'm too good to stand equal to you. You a little lesser than me, so you got to stand just a little behind me. I mean, you ain't the same. Stand behind me a little bit. He said, ثُمَّ يُقَابِلُ. He said, and then this will be met by who? الْمُتَأَخِرِ. By the one who he stepped in front of, the one who's behind a little bit. على what? He will be affected by this kibr bil-adawa. So he will have a disdain. He'll catch feelings, as they say. He'll get mad. He'll become angry. You understand? He may not say nothing, but he realizes this person, look, he want to stand equal to me. He stand up a little bit, think he better than me. Then he start not liking him. Now how much more so the person who refuses to put his foot on the foot of his brother. The brother put his foot next to his, he move his foot away. Every time the brother come to close the gaps, he move his foot away. As if to say, what? Don't be touching me. You ain't good enough to touch me. How much more so will this cause rancor? How much more so will this cause separation of the hearts? The Shaykh, he says, but when this happens, just remind you now, a person coming up a little bit, just stepping forward a little bit, he said this will lead to what? فَاخْتَلِفَ الْقُلُوبِ. Then the hearts will become separated. The hearts will become separated. وَيَتَّبِعُهَا. And what follows the separation of the heart? اِخْتِلَافُ وُجُوهِ. Then the faces will become separated. مِنْ شِدَّةِ الْعَدَاوَةِ. Because they both have a disdain, a strong disdain from one another. وَبِهَذَا تَحْصُلُ قَطِيعَةً وَتَفْرِقَةً. And this will lead to ostracization. This will lead to them boycotting one another, being disunified from one another. You see how it starts? The road wasn't 100% straight. The people start feeling away, start thinking it's something that's there. Then the hearts become separated. Then the faces become separated. Because if this is how you feel, you're not going to be all hunky-dory talking with them after the salah and so on and so forth. Then the faces become separated. Now you don't want to be around each other. Yes, Salaam. The Shaykh, he says, وَيَفُوتُ الْمَقْصِدِ الْمَطْلُوبِ مِنْ جَمَاعَةٍ وَهُوَ الْمَحَبَّةِ وَالتَّوَاصُلِ. He said, and they will lose out on the true purpose and the aim of praying in congregation, and that is to what? To have love and connection and relationship with one another. To have love for one another, connection with one another, relationship with one another. This is from the purpose of praying together, so that we love one another, worship Allah together, interact with one another outside the salah, help one another when we need help, advise one another when we need advice, be there as a shoulder for your brother to cry on when he needs, so you have a shoulder to cry on when you need. This is how the Muslims should be with one another. But when we don't avoid those causes and those reasons that lead to disunity, then we will fall into disunity. We will fall into separation. We will fall into divide. We will fall into alienation. We will fall into ostracization. We will fall into to the end of it, from hating one another, having rancor from one another, and so on and so forth. And this is what the shaitan, he wants. So we have to be very mindful to avoid all of those little things that may lead to separation, all of those things that may lead to a corruption in our relationships. We have to be very mindful, ya ibad, because it is incumbent upon us that we are together, we are united upon the truth, and that we do not separate. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and be all of you united upon the rope of Allah, and do not separate. فَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ.